Welcome into episode 162 of The Checklist, brought to you by Secure Mac. I'm Ken Ray.
And I'm August Traumoter.
Taking the privacy out of VPN, SIM swapping 101, and an audio hack with a light touch. Stand clear of the closing doors, please. Checklist 162 is taking off. Users of NordVPN, beware. Ars Technica says as many as 2,000 users of the virtual private network have had their passwords exposed in mass credential stuffing attacks. While NordVPN let the world know last month of a server hack that leaked crypto keys, this was not that. This appears to have been bad password management on the part of the users, with a lot of the VPN provider allowing it to happen. First of all, August, let us know what's going on here.
Well, you're right. This is different from the crypto key hack from last month. It's essentially logins and clear text passwords that have been posted to various online sites such as Pastebin. It seems like somewhere over 2,000 of these credentials have been leaked, but most likely it was all the result of credential stuffing, which we've talked about here before. NordVPN is in the process of trying to get these lists taken down, but some of that information is still out there.
I want to go back. I can't decide which way to go first. First of all, just talk to me about that. How does NordVPN or some other site or service go about actually getting these things taken down?
Sure. In most cases, it just takes a message to the support team at the site in question to take these lists down. Pastebin has done a lot to make sure that illegally pasted information is deleted. But if this information is pasted to a less friendly site or a dark website, it's much harder to have it removed.
And I know we have talked about credential stuffing before. We've talked about it a lot, it seems, over the past couple of months. For people who haven't been listening, though, or who need a refresher, can you remind us really quickly what credential stuffing is?
Sure. Credential stuffing is where a hacker gets a list of emails and passwords and then likely has an automated script to go through each one of those and to try and log in to various sites with those credentials. And, that might not sound like a big deal, but if you're using the same email and password at your bank as you do everywhere else, you could be out a lot of money.
Now, the Ars Technica piece indicates that the problem here is weak passwords.
Right. We've talked so many times before about the importance of strong, unique passwords. People use all sorts of tricks to not use strong, unique passwords. And, honestly, that was fine 10 or 15 years ago. But now it's a huge liability. So first and foremost, use a password manager. Let it do all the remembering and heavy lifting for you. And second, if you're using the same password across sites, change them, because that is what opens you up to credential stuffing.
So the problem is people using weak passwords that are easy to guess or figure out.
Yeah, but in this case, I don't think that's the only problem. The user has the ultimate responsibility, but there are things that NordVPN should be doing to protect those users, especially since it's a VPN. Google and Facebook, for example, they gather lists of credentials from both public sites as well as dark websites, and then they compare these against the user credentials in their own database and will require a password reset if there are matches. In addition, NordVPN doesn't seem to be rate limiting logins. So a hacker could, on NordVPN, try 100,000 logins per minute. And that is how credential stuffing really takes off. Because of all this, NordVPN does have some shared responsibility. And since their job, or as what they say they do, is to protect your privacy, you'd think they'd be doing a better job here.
Do me a favor, rate limiting, are you saying number of times or number of times in a certain amount of time? What do you mean by that term?
Yeah, number of times in a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Over the course of, a minute, how many times can you try to log in? And then in most good systems, it will shut you down so that you have to come back later.
Now, the blame game is, well, I was going to say it's fun, but really it's human nature. Not that it's not important to know, who's at fault, but we can worry about that later. The real question is, if you're a NordVPN user, what should you do now?
Well, first, visit haveibeenpwned.com and check the email addresses you use as logins. You'll get information as to whether your information has been compromised and what sites were affected. Immediately go to those sites and change your password. Again, a strong, unique password is key. Never reuse passwords across sites. And then for everyone else, even if you don't find your email in the Have I Been Pwned database, employ password best practices. But before you do that, employ password best practices. And then when you're done, employ password best practices.
So what I hear you saying is, SIM swapping, necessity for globetrotters and nefarious work for super spies. If movies and TV have taught me anything about SIM swapping, it's that I watch far too much movies and TV. I came across a story this week about a guy who is suing a cryptocurrency exchange and his wireless carrier because he fell victim to a SIM swapping swindle. And it occurred to me that I have only a vague idea of what that might entail. I'm pretty sure we all know, what a SIM card is, but I'm equally sure that most of us don't really know what a SIM card is and what it does. So we turn to the man who knows things. What is a SIM card and what does it do?
Well, SIM stands for Subscriber Identity Module, and it's used by mobile phone carriers to identify your phone so that when you use the mobile network, the network knows that it's you. Essentially, it acts as a password granting you access to that network. Every phone's SIM card has a different code, and no two SIMs are alike.
Now, while we might not do it regularly, if we've ever gone from one iPhone to another and marveled at how easily the whole thing happened, sure, part of it's iCloud, but part of it is because we've taken out the SIM card from our last iPhone and put it in the new one, right? It shakes hands with my network, and then I'm good to go. I guess what I'm wondering is, how does SIM swapping become something that bad guys use?
Well, this is where we go back to social engineering. Basically, the bad guys collect a bunch of information about you, your name, address, names of loved ones, everything they might need to act like they are you. Then they call the mobile phone carrier and pretend that they are you. They'll give all of the information they're asked for, including possibly credit card information if they have it. They'll tell the support system that they accidentally damaged the SIM card and they bought a new one that they need to activate. If they find a gullible enough support person, that person will activate the new SIM card and deactivate the one that's on your phone. At that point, all of your calls, text messages, and more are directed to the hacker's phone, and yours won't connect to the network any longer.
Now, I think it was a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about losing one factor in our two-factor authentication setup. You said that SMS authentication is less secure and it's a lot more hackable than other methods. Is that because of this? Is that because of SIM swapping?
Bingo. Because once the SIM swap happens, any of those SMS authentication codes are sent to the hacker's phone, not yours, since the carrier thinks the hacker's phone is yours. In fact, last year, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, had his own Twitter account taken over by a hacker using the SIM swap method.
So the obvious question, it seems to me, is, what do people do to keep this from happening to them?
Well, first of all, SIM swapping is a problem, but this isn't something to be panicked about. I couldn't find more recent numbers, but in 2016, less than 3,000 phones were affected by a SIM swap. If you're not high profile or wealthy or don't have a lot of important secrets, you're probably not worth the effort that a hacker has to go through to make this succeed. That said, there are some things that you can do just to be proactive. Most carriers now let you add a passcode or PIN to your account so that when you call in, they can verify that it's you. As we've said before, don't use a street address or a birth date or anything the hacker can deduce from the information he's gathered for that PIN or passcode. And then don't tie your actual mobile number to any online accounts. That's how these hackers target you, because if these sites have been hacked, the hacker then has your mobile number. Instead, use a third-party number like a VoIP number or Google Voice that then points to your phone. You'll still get those SMS authentication messages, but there's no Google Voice SIM that a hacker can swap out. Again, make sure to use a strong, unique password for any of these services.
Not unlike the last story, the one that suggested that NordVPN could have done more to protect people. I assume that there's something happening on the carrier side to protect me from a nefarious SIM swap.
Well, as I said, you can add a PIN or passcode to your account, and all you have to do is call your carrier to set that up. But also keep in mind that the whole SIM swap method depends on social engineering and the ability to trick the carrier support person. This would just be another layer of security, but it's not foolproof.
You may want to blindfold your Echo. We'll tell you why in a moment, but first a word about MacScan 3 from Secure Mac. Sometimes we do dumb things. Lock our keys in the car, lose something we need right this very minute. Sometimes we get tricked into downloading files or clicking links in emails or on websites that end up being detrimental. Did you pick up something bad? Tracking cookies or malware maybe? Find out and get rid of it with MacScan 3. MacScan 3 is a great defense against malicious software attacks aimed at your Mac. It's developed by Secure Mac, trusted names in computer security and developers of exceptional security software for the Mac for over 20 years. MacScan 3 detects and removes Mac malware, catches keyloggers, removes tracking cookies, and provides full-range or targeted scanning, all without crowding up your hard drive or slowing down your machine. Keep your Mac clean with MacScan 3 from Secure Mac. Sign up for a free 30-day trial today at securemac.com/MacScan. That's MacScan 3 by Secure Mac. Your 30-day free trial is waiting at securemac.com/MacScan. Our last story today is really the stuff of spy movies, except no, it isn't. Except it is. We turn to Ars Technica, which says that researchers have been able to hack Siri, Alexa, and Google Home by hitting them with lasers. What?
Yeah. Talk about crazy. Basically, microphones that use what are called micro-electromechanical systems, known as MEMS for short, are what can be exploited. These microphones seem to respond to this laser light as if it were sound. Researchers didn't do an exhaustive study and only looked at a small number of devices, but they believe that anything uses MEMS can be attacked with these light commands. And this pretty much includes all modern devices, from your iPad to your HomePods to your laptop.
So how does light affect the microphones?
To be honest, we don't know. According to Ars Technica, the researchers still don't fully understand the physics behind their exploit. But that might actually be a good thing since, as they say, a better understanding in the coming years may yield more effective attacks.
So good thing right now that there's not a better understanding, because then people might be better at it. Of course, where it's a really good thing, a better understanding might also lead to it not working anymore.
One would hope. And this is pure supposition on my part since I'm not a quantum physicist. But light can actually act as both a particle and a wave. Sound is always a wave. And I suspect, though, and again, not a physicist, that the MEMS mics are responding to the light as a wave, as if it were sound.
Now, I'm going to play dumb here, which is going to be tough, but I'll try.
Is that a new band?
Yeah, that's cute. What's the worst thing that can happen? I mean, bad guys set Siri to play music that I don't want to hear. They get Alexa to read me sports scores at 3 a.m. What harm can a hijacked smart speaker do?
Well, first of all, it's not just smart speakers. Tablets and smartphones can be affected as well. Additionally, think about all of the stuff you can do with Siri. People who know what they're doing can do the same stuff silently. In their paper, the researchers said, we show how an attacker can use light-injected voice commands to unlock the target's smart lock protected front door, open garage doors, shop on e-commerce websites at the target's expense, or even locate, unlock, and start various vehicles, for example, Tesla and Ford, if the vehicles are connected to the target's Google account. I'll go a little further and say, as we connect these devices to more and more services and give them more capabilities, you open yourself up to giving access to your bank account and lots of other personal information.
Now, I will confess, I have actually skipped ahead a bit in today's reading. The big problem here is we want these things to just work, right? So we say into the air, hey, automated assistant, do X, Y, Z. And we want that done. And what we don't want to do is have to type in a password or a PIN or anything like that.
And that's a big problem. Since these devices don't ask for authentication other than when setting them up, these attacks don't even need a password. In Apple's latest version of the HomePod software, it can detect whose voice is talking to it, which could be a method of authentication down the road, but we're just not there yet.
Okay. So before I take everything and throw it in the lake, give me just a tiny bit of good news if you could.
Well, this could be done. It would take a lot more know-how than most people have, and they'd have to be really exact, and they'd have to be line of sight. So first of all, keep your devices away from windows. And if you think, well, I'm 2 stories up or 10 stories up or 20 stories up, if there's a building as tall or taller near you, that's still line of sight. With the right equipment, like a telephoto lens, researchers say attacks like these could be pulled off from as far as 360 feet away, which isn't a short distance. Oftentimes, we're talking about speakers, though, and they'll usually respond audibly to their instructions. So if your speaker starts talking, listen for that. And finally, most of these lasers create a visible light. So if you see a pinpoint dancing on your HomePod, either a sniper hates your HomePod or a hacker is trying to gain access.
He hates these cans.
He hates these cans.
Stay away from these cans. Yeah. I'm thinking I finally have an excuse to get that smoke machine for the house I wanted. 24-hour fog. No, it's just a security thing. It's not nearly as creepy as you think. Hey, if you're looking for more security news and how-tos, the place to look is securemac.com/checklist. There you'll find notes for this show, for the last show, for all the shows coming up once we actually do those shows. The place to find it all. Oh, and you can actually listen to every show there as well. securemac.com/checklist. If you have a question you'd like to ask or a topic you would like to hear us hit, our email address is checklist@securemac.com. The address again is checklist@securemac.com. And if you can't remember that, please do remember this. You're listening to The Checklist, brought to you by Secure Mac. And we'll talk to you next week.